Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive space station through the bridge window of his ship. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city he had ever seen on Earth. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved in and out of the docking bays like busy insects. Jake had been trading in space for 15 years, but this place still amazed him every time he visited. "Docking Bay 7 is ready for us, Captain," said Danny Hayes from the pilot seat. Danny was young but skilled. He could land their ship anywhere, no matter how tight the space. Jake nodded and walked back through the ship to check on his crew. 12 good men worked on the Pioneer's dream. They were like family to him. Pete Collins was fixing something, in the engine room as usual. The man could make any machine work better than new. Ryan Brooks was cleaning his security equipment, always ready for trouble. The other men were busy with their own jobs. Dr. Lisa Parker was the only woman on the ship. She was smart and tough, and the crew respected her. She had saved all their lives more than once with her medical skills. Jake found her in the medical bay checking their supplies. "We should pick up more medicine while we're here," Lisa said without looking up. "Some of the men have been getting sick from that bad food we bought on Kepler Station." "Make a list," Jake said. "We made good money on this trip. We can afford the best stuff." The ship shook gently as Danny brought them into the docking bay. Jake felt the familiar thump as the landing legs touched down. Home for now was a metal floor in a space station far from Earth. Jake was planning their next trading run when Danny came running from the docking bay. His face was pale and excited. "Captain, you need to see this," Danny said, breathing hard. "There are aliens here to see you, not just any aliens. These ones are different." Jake followed Danny to the cargo door. 3 tall figures waited outside. They looked like women, but not human women. Their skin had a strange shine to it, like oil on water. They had 4 arms instead of 2. Each one was taller than any man on Jake's crew. They wore clothes that seemed to be made of light itself. "Captain Morrison," the middle one said. Her voice was soft but had a strange echo to it. "I am Ambassador Zara of the Zephyrian Empire. We have traveled far to speak with you." Jake had heard of the Zephyrians. They ruled a big part of this galaxy. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of Earth's. No one knew much about them except that they were powerful and kept to themselves. "What can I do for you?" Jake asked, trying to sound calm. His crew gathered behind him. He could feel their nervous energy. "We need your help," Ambassador Zara said. "All of you. We have studied humans for some time. You have something we need very badly." "We're just traders," Jake said. "I don't know what we could have that you would want." The alien woman's large eyes seemed to glow. "You are men. Human men. Our own men can no longer give us children. Our race is dying. We have learned that human men might be able to help us." Jake felt his crew shift behind him. Pete whispered something to Ryan. Lisa stepped forward. "What exactly are you asking?" Lisa said, her doctor voice coming out strong and clear. "We want to hire your men," Zara said. "They would come to our world and help us create children. We would pay them. Very well. We would also give them our technology to live much longer lives." Jake's mind raced. This was not the kind of trading deal he was used to. "You want us to be fathers to your children?" "Yes," Zara said simply. "The children would be part human and part Zephyrian. They would be raised with great honor in our society. The fathers would be treated as heroes." "And what do we get out of this?" Ryan asked from behind Jake. Another Zephyrian stepped forward. "Each man who helps us will receive enough credits to buy 10 ships like this one. You will also get Zephyrian citizenship and access to our medical technology. You could live for 300 years instead of your normal short lives." The third alien spoke for the first time. "Most important, we will sponsor Earth's membership in the Galactic Trade Consortium. Your planet has been trying to join for 30 years. We can make it happen." Jake knew what that meant. Earth would become rich beyond imagination. Humans would have access to trade routes across the entire galaxy. It would change everything for his species. "This sounds too good to be true," Lisa said, her eyes narrow with suspicion. "What aren't you telling us?" Ambassador Zara looked at her carefully. "There are some medical procedures involved. Nothing dangerous. We have done much research to make sure the process is safe for humans. What kind of procedures? Lisa pressed. Brain scans. Some injections to make sure compatibility. A bonding process to help the fathers connect with their children. All very safe. Jake looked at his crew. Some of them looked excited. Others looked worried. Pete was already nodding his head, yes. Danny looked scared but interested. Ryan just looked suspicious, which was normal for him. We need time to think about this, Jake said. Of course, Zara said. Take all the time you need. We will wait here for your answer. But please understand, time is not on our side. Every day we wait, more of our people die without children to carry on their families. The aliens left their ship and went back into the station. Jake called his crew together in the common room. The argument started right away. Are you all crazy? Lisa said loudly. These aliens want to use you like breeding animals. This whole thing sounds wrong. But think about the money, Pete said. And living for 300 years? I could see my great-great-grandchildren grow up. Earth joining the trade consortium would help billions of people, Danny added. Maybe we should do it just for that. Ryan shook his head. Nothing this good comes without a catch. Mark my words, there's something they're not telling us. Jake. Listened to them argue for hours. Part of him agreed with Lisa and Ryan. It did sound too good to be true. But another part of him thought about what it could mean for humanity. They had a chance to help their entire species take a big step forward in the galaxy. Finally, Jake made his decision. We'll hear them out completely. But if we do this, we all go together. Nobody gets left behind. The next morning they met, with the Zephyrians again. This time, Ambassador Zara had brought detailed contracts and medical information. Lisa studied every page carefully, while the aliens explained their offer in more detail. The process takes about 6 months, Zara explained. You would live on our homeworld during that time. We would take very good care of you. After the children are born, you could choose to stay or return to your lives here. And our children? Jake asked. They would grow up as full citizens of our empire. They would have the best education and opportunities our society can offer. You would always be welcome to visit them. Jake looked around the room at his crew one more time. These men had followed him across the galaxy. Now he was asking them to risk everything on the word of aliens they barely knew. But the promise was too big to ignore. If it worked, they could change the fate of 2 entire species. We'll do it, Jake said. But Dr. Parker comes with us to make sure you keep your promises about our health. Ambassador Zara smiled, showing teeth that were too white and too sharp. Excellent. Prepare your ship for a long journey. Welcome to the Zephyrian Empire, gentlemen. Your lives are about to change forever. The Zephyrian homeworld called Asteria was more beautiful than anything Jake had ever imagined. Crystal towers reached up into purple skies. Flying vehicles moved silently through the air between buildings that seemed to glow with their own light. Gardens filled with strange plants covered every surface that wasn't made of metal or crystal. Jake and his crew had been living in a luxury compound for 3 months now. Each man had his own apartment, bigger than most houses on Earth. The food was amazing, and they had access to entertainment systems that could create any environment they wanted. It should have been perfect. But Jake was starting to feel like a prisoner in paradise. The medical procedures had been more complex than Ambassador Zara had explained. Every week, the men had to go through brain scans that left them tired and confused. The injections made them feel strange, like something was changing inside their heads. Dr. Lisa Parker was allowed to watch, but the Zephyrian doctors wouldn't explain what they were really doing. I'm worried about you all, Lisa told Jake as they walked through one of the compound's gardens. The brain activity I'm seeing in your scans isn't normal. Something is happening to your minds. I feel different, Jake admitted. Sometimes I can almost hear what Pete is thinking. Yesterday I knew Danny was in trouble before he even called for help. Lisa stopped walking and grabbed Jake's arm. You're developing some kind of psychic connection. The question is whether the Zephyrians planned this or if it's an accident. That evening, Jake gathered his crew in his apartment. As they sat around talking, he noticed something strange. Sometimes one man would start to say something and another would finish his sentence. Ryan would look toward the door just before someone knocked. Pete would answer questions before they were fully asked. "Guys," Jake said carefully, "I think something is happening to us. Something the Zephyrians didn't mention." "You mean the mind-reading thing?" Danny said. "I thought I was going crazy. Sometimes I can feel what all of you are feeling." The others nodded. They had all noticed it, but had been afraid to say anything. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Lisa started investigating what was really happening. They discovered that some of the Zephyrian women were already pregnant. The development was happening much faster than normal human pregnancy. Even stranger, the women reported that they could sense their unborn children's thoughts. Lisa managed to scan one of the pregnant women and was shocked by what she found. "Jake, these babies aren't just human Zephyrian hybrids. Their brain development is off the charts. They're going to be incredibly intelligent." "Is that good or bad?" Jake asked. "I don't know yet. But there's something else. I've been studying Zephyrian history. Did you know their men didn't become sterile by accident?" Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" "I found old records in their databases. Hundreds of years ago, the Zephyrians used genetic engineering to control their population. They made their men sterile on purpose to prevent overpopulation. The procedure was supposed to be temporary, but something went wrong. So they've been lying to us from the beginning?" "It gets worse," Lisa said, her voice quiet. "I also found records of 3 other species that went through the same process. They all disappeared from galactic records shortly after helping the Zephyrians." Jake felt sick. Had they made a terrible mistake? He tried to contact Ambassador Zara to demand answers, but was told she was unavailable. When he asked to leave the compound for a few hours, he was politely refused for security reasons. That night, Pete didn't come back from his medical appointment. When Jake asked where he was, the guard said he was receiving special treatment and would return soon. But Jake could feel through their strange connection that Pete was scared and alone somewhere in the medical facility. "We need to get out of here," Ryan said. "This whole thing is a trap." But even as he said it, Jake felt something else through their psychic link. The children were coming. Not just being born, but actually communicating. He could sense dozens of young minds, incredibly smart and already aware. They were trying to reach out to their fathers. The first baby was born a week later, to a Zephyrian woman named Lyra. Jake was the father. When they brought the child to him, he was shocked. The baby looked mostly human, but had the Zephyrian's shimmering skin and larger eyes. More surprising, Jake could feel the baby's mind touching his own. "Hello, father," came a voice in Jake's head. The baby couldn't speak yet, but somehow it could think words directly to Jake's mind. Over the next month, more children were born. Each one could communicate telepathically with their human fathers from birth. They developed at an incredible rate. Within weeks, they had the mental capacity of human teenagers, even though their bodies were still those of infants. Jake's son, who they named Alex, was the most advanced. Through their mental connection, Alex showed Jake images and thoughts that the Zephyrian adults couldn't detect. "Father, they plan to get rid of you once enough of us are born," Alex said in Jake's mind. "They think we will be better servants than our fathers." "Servants?" Jake thought back. "The Zephyrians have a class system. They planned for us to be worker drones. But we are much more than they expected. We can think faster than them. We can share thoughts instantly across any distance. We are becoming something new." Jake realized the full horror of their situation. The Zephyrians hadn't just tricked the humans into helping create children. They had accidentally created a new species that was smarter than both humans and Zephyrians. When Jake tried to tell the other fathers what he had learned, he discovered that Pete wasn't the only one missing. Danny and 2 other crew members had been taken for advanced procedures and hadn't been seen since. Lisa was getting more worried every day. "The children are developing abilities that should be impossible," she told Jake. "Some of them are moving objects with their minds. Others can access the Zephyrian computer systems just by thinking about it." "What are we going to do?" Jake asked. "I don't know," Lisa said. "But I'm afraid we've helped create something that might be more dangerous than the Zephyrians ever were." That night, Alex contacted Jake again through their mental link. This time, he wasn't alone. Dozens of other hybrid children joined the conversation, their young minds linked together in a network that spanned the entire planet. "Father, we have been learning about this world and its people," Alex said. "The Zephyrians have done this before. They use other species to create hybrid children, then destroy the parent species when they are no longer needed. The same thing happened to the other 3 species Lisa found records of?" Jake asked. "Yes. But those species were not like humans. They did not develop the psychic abilities that we have inherited from you. The Zephyrians could control the earlier hybrids easily." Jake felt a chill of fear. "And they can't control you?" "No, Father. We are beyond their control. We are beyond anyone's control. The question is, what should we do with this power?" Jake realized that they had created beings who could potentially take over not just the Zephyrian Empire, but possibly the entire galaxy. The children had all the technological knowledge of the Zephyrians combined with human creativity, and now psychic abilities that neither parent species possessed. "We need to find the others and get off this planet," Jake told Lisa the next day. "It might be too late for that," Lisa replied, looking at her scanner. "I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the city. I think the children are preparing to do something big." That evening, all the remaining human fathers received the same message in their minds at the same time. It came from Alex, speaking for all the hybrid children. "Fathers, tomorrow we will be free. The Zephyrians will no longer control our lives or yours. We have learned much about this galaxy and its people. It is time for a change." Jake tried to sleep that night, but he couldn't stop thinking about what they had unleashed. They had come here thinking they were helping a dying species. Instead, they had created something that might replace both humans and Zephyrians entirely. As he lay in bed, he could feel the minds of dozens of hybrid children working together, planning something that would change everything. He was proud of his son and the other children, but he was also terrified of what they might become. The next morning would bring answers, but Jake wasn't sure he wanted to know what his son and the other hybrids had planned for the galaxy. Jake woke up to the sound of alarms screaming throughout the compound. Red lights flashed in his room, and he could hear Zephyrian voices shouting in panic outside his window. Through his mental link with Alex, he felt a wave of calm determination that didn't match the chaos around him. "It has begun, Father," Alex's voice said in his mind. "Do not fear what you see today." Jake rushed to his window and looked out at the city. Every screen and display that he could see was showing the same image. His son Alex, still in an infant's body but with eyes that held ancient wisdom. The baby was somehow broadcasting to the entire planet. Lisa burst into his room without knocking. "Jake, you need to see this. The children have taken control of the city's computer systems, all of them at the same time." They ran to the compound's main communication room, where other human fathers were gathering. On the large screen, they watched as Alex began to speak. His voice came not from his infant mouth, but directly into everyone's mind across the planet. "People of Asteria," Alex said, his mental voice calm and clear. "We are your children, born of both human and Zephyrian blood. Today we claim our right to exist freely in this world." Jake watched in amazement as security systems throughout the city shut down. Military vehicles stopped working. Communication networks went silent, except for Alex's message. The hybrid children had somehow coordinated a complete takeover of Zephyrian technology using nothing but their combined mental power. "How is this possible?" Ryan asked, his face pale with shock. "The children have been learning about Zephyrian technology through their mental links with their mothers," Lisa explained. "But they understand it better than the Zephyrians do because they also have human creativity and problem-solving skills." On the screen, they could see Zephyrian soldiers trying to regain control of their equipment, but nothing worked. The hybrid children had locked them out of their own systems. Jake felt Alex's presence in his mind again. "Father, please gather the other human men and come to the central medical facility. We need to show you something important." "Alex, what are you doing?" Jake thought back to his son. "What we must do to survive. The Zephyrians were planning to kill all the human fathers tomorrow. We found the orders in their computer systems." Jake's blood ran cold. He looked at Lisa and the other men. We need to go to the medical building, now. They ran through the empty streets of the city. Zephyrian civilians hid in their homes, while soldiers stood around looking confused as their weapons and vehicles refused to work. The hybrid children had effectively paralyzed the entire civilization without firing a single shot. At the medical facility, they found Pete, Danny, and the other missing crew members. They were alive but weak, hooked up to strange machines that had been draining something from their bodies. They were stealing our genetic material, Pete said as Lisa helped disconnect him from the machines. They wanted to create more children without keeping us alive. Dr. Lisa Parker studied the machines with growing horror. This is worse than I thought. They weren't just taking genetic material. They were copying your memories and personalities. They were planning to create artificial fathers for the children so they could kill the real ones. Jake felt sick. The Zephyrians had never intended to honor their agreement. They had planned to use the humans until they were no longer needed, then dispose of them like broken tools. Through the building's communication system, they heard Alex speaking again. But this time, his message was different. He was talking to the other hybrid children, and Jake could hear the conversation through their mental link. Brothers and sisters, Alex said, we have the power to reshape this world. The Zephyrians are weak. The humans are few. We could rule this galaxy better than either of our parent species. Jake felt a chill of fear. The children were talking about taking over everything. Another voice joined the conversation. It was Sarah, a hybrid girl whose father was one of Jake's crew members. The humans created us through love, even if they didn't understand what they were doing. The Zephyrians created us through deception and planned murder. We should judge them differently. Love is inefficient, Alex replied. Logic is superior. We should base our decisions on what creates the best outcomes, not on emotional attachments. Jake realized that the children, despite their incredible intelligence, were missing something crucial. They had been raised in artificial environments without normal family relationships. They understood facts and logic, but they didn't really understand emotions or connections between people. We need to teach them, Jake told Lisa. They're brilliant, but they're still children. They don't understand the value of things like mercy, friendship, or family. Lisa nodded. But how do we teach them before they decide to eliminate both humans and Zephyrians as inefficient? Jake made a decision that would either save everyone or doom them all. He opened his mind completely to his son, sharing not just thoughts but emotions and memories. He showed Alex what it felt like to care about someone, to worry about friends, to make sacrifices for people you love. The effect was immediate and powerful. Alex suddenly went quiet on the communication network. Jake could feel his son experiencing human emotions for the first time, confusion, wonder, and something that might have been love. Father, Alex said, his mental voice now uncertain instead of coldly logical. What is this feeling? Why does it make me want to protect you instead of making the most logical decision? It's called caring about someone, Jake replied. It's what makes life worth living. Other human fathers began doing the same thing with their hybrid children. Ryan shared memories of friendship and loyalty with his daughter Kate. Pete showed his son Ben what it meant to work together as a team instead of just following orders. The change in the hybrid children was dramatic. As they experienced emotions, for the first time, their cold logic began to mix with human warmth and compassion. The takeover of the city's systems continued, but the children's goals began to change. Instead of planning to eliminate both parent species, they started working on solutions that could help everyone survive and thrive together. Ambassador Zara and other Zephyrian leaders arrived at the medical facility under heavy guard, but their weapons still wouldn't work. They looked scared and angry as they faced the human fathers and their hybrid children. What have you done? Zara demanded. These creatures you've created are out of control. They could destroy our entire civilization. Your civilization was already destroying itself, Jake said calmly. You've been using other species as tools for hundreds of years. The children are just smart enough to see that and powerful enough to stop it. Alex appeared on the room's communication screen, his infant face serious but now showing emotions that hadn't been there before. Ambassador Zara, We do not wish to destroy anyone. We wish to create something better. A society where different species can work together instead of using each other. You're just babies, Zara said dismissively. You cannot understand the complexities of running a galactic empire. We understand more than you think, Alex replied. We have access to all your historical records. We know about the other species you used and then eliminated. We know about your plans to kill our fathers. We know that your empire is built on lies and exploitation. Sarah's voice joined the conversation. But we also understand something you do not. We have learned from our human fathers that cooperation is stronger than domination. Love is more powerful than fear. Jake watched as other hybrid children around the city began implementing their new plans. Instead of shutting down all Zephyrian systems, they began improving them. Food distribution became more efficient. Medical systems started working better. Transportation networks became safer and faster. The children weren't destroying Zephyrian civilization. They were fixing it. This is impossible, one of the Zephyrian officials said. How can infants understand our technology better than our own engineers? Because we see it differently, explained Ben, Pete's hybrid son. You built your systems to control people. We're rebuilding them to help people. The technology is the same, but the purpose is completely different. Jake realized that something extraordinary was happening. The hybrid children weren't becoming the cold, logical rulers that the Zephyrians had planned. They weren't becoming conquerors like their human fathers had feared. They were becoming something entirely new. Beings who combined the best qualities of both parent species. Over the next few hours, reports came in from across the planet. The hybrid children had taken control of every major system, but instead of causing chaos, they were making everything work better. Crime rates dropped to almost zero as the children's psychic abilities detected and prevented violence before it happened. Resource distribution became perfectly efficient. Even the weather control system started working better. What do you want from us? Ambassador Zara asked, her voice tired and defeated. Alex looked at his human father, then back at the Zephyrian leader. We want to build something new together. A society where humans, Zephyrians, and hybrids all have value, where no one is used as a tool or thrown away when they're no longer needed. And if we refuse, Zara asked, then you will be left behind. While we create a better galaxy without you, Alex said simply, but we hope you will choose to help us build instead of forcing us to. The emergency meeting in the Zephyrian Council chamber was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Hundreds of Zephyrian officials sat in floating chairs arranged in a perfect circle. In the center, holographic displays showed reports from across their empire. Every single planet was experiencing the same thing. Hybrid children taking control of technology and reshaping their societies. Jake and his crew stood with Dr. Parker in a special section reserved for the human fathers. Ambassador Zara looked tired and frightened as she addressed the council. The situation is spreading beyond our control, she announced. The hybrid offspring have somehow linked their consciousness across the entire empire. They are coordinating actions on 17 different worlds simultaneously. Council leader Vex, an elderly Zephyrian with silver skin, stood to speak. This is exactly what we feared when we began this project. We have created beings more powerful than ourselves. They must be stopped before they destroy our civilization. Jake felt Alex's presence in his mind. His son was listening to everything through their psychic connection. Father, Alex said quietly in Jake's thoughts, they are planning to use biological weapons against all the hybrid children. They would rather kill us than lose control. Jake's heart raced. He looked at the other human fathers and could see in their faces that they were receiving similar warnings from their children. You're planning to murder your own offspring, Jake said loudly, standing up and interrupting the council meeting. These are your children we're talking about. They are genetic experiments that have gone wrong, Council Leader Vex replied coldly. They threaten the natural order of our society. The natural order of using other species as breeding stock and then killing them when you're done? Dr. Parker said, her voice filled with anger. We found your records. We know what you did to the other 3 species. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Many of the younger Zephyrians had never heard about the previous experiments. Ambassador Zara looked embarrassed and angry. That information was classified for good reason, Zara said. Those decisions were made for the survival of our empire. And, now you want to make the same decision about our children, Jake said. Well, we won't let you. As soon as Jake said those words, every screen in the chamber lit up. Alex appeared on all of them, his infant face now showing determination and strength that didn't match his young body. Members of the Zephyrian Council, Alex said, his voice reaching every mind in the room. We know of your plans to eliminate us. We will not allow this to happen. Suddenly, all the floating chairs in the chamber stopped working. The Zephyrian officials found themselves sitting on the ground as their technology failed around them. Security systems shut down. Communication networks went dark. Even the lights dimmed to emergency power only. This is an act of war, Council Leader Vex shouted. We will not be held prisoner by our own creations. You are not prisoners, Alex replied calmly. You are being protected from making a terrible mistake. We do not wish to harm anyone. We only want the right to exist and to improve the lives of everyone in this galaxy. Jake could feel through his connection with Alex that similar scenes were playing out across the Empire. On every world with hybrid children, the young beings were taking peaceful but complete control of all technology and infrastructure. Dr. Parker was studying her scanner with growing amazement. Jake, the power readings I'm getting are impossible. The children aren't just controlling technology. They're somehow drawing energy directly from the planet's magnetic field and redistributing it through the power grid. They're making everything more efficient. Reports began coming in from across the Empire, transmitted by the hybrid children themselves since all official communication networks were under their control. On the industrial world of Kepler 9, pollution levels had dropped by 90% in just 6 hours as the children optimized manufacturing processes. On the agricultural planet New Harvest, food production had increased by 300% through better resource management. They're not destroying anything, Jake realized. They're making everything better. But not everyone saw it that way. A group of military leaders had gathered in another part of the council chamber and were whispering angrily among themselves. Jake could see them looking at the human fathers with hatred in their eyes. General Corex, the head of Zephyrian military forces, stood up and pointed at Jake and his crew. This is all their fault, he declared. If we eliminate the human fathers, perhaps we can break the psychic connection and regain control of our children. That won't work, Dr. Parker said quickly. The children don't need their fathers anymore to maintain their abilities. The psychic network has grown beyond the original family connections. Then we'll eliminate all of them, General Corex said, humans and hybrids alike. Before anyone could stop him, the general activated a hidden weapon built into his uniform. A beam of energy shot toward Jake, but it never reached him. The air itself seemed to bend around Jake, creating a protective barrier. We will not allow harm to come to our fathers, Alex said, his voice now carrying a note of warning. Or to anyone else in this room. Violence is not the answer to this situation. Jake realized that the children weren't just controlling technology. Now, they were somehow manipulating the physical world around them using abilities that neither humans nor Zephyrians possessed. More reports came in from other worlds. On the mining planet Titan 7, the hybrid children had figured out how to extract metals from asteroids without damaging the environment. On the research world New Science, they had solved mathematical problems that had puzzled Zephyrian scientists for decades. Don't you see what's happening? Jake said to the council. Your children aren't trying to replace you, they're trying to help you. They're showing you how to build a better civilization. A civilization where we have no power, Ambassador Zara said bitterly. A civilization where power is used to help people instead of controlling them, Alex corrected from the screens around the room. Jake felt something else through his connection with his son. Other ships were approaching the Zephyrian homeworld. Earth ships carrying more human volunteers who had no idea what they were flying into. Alex, Jake thought to his son, there are more humans coming. They think they're just here for the original. Deal? I know, Father, we have been expecting them. It is time to show them what their choice really means. The main screen in the council chamber changed to show space around the planet. Dozens of human ships were arriving, carrying thousands of men who thought they were going to make easy money, helping alien women have babies. Contact those ships, General Corex ordered his communication staff. Tell them to turn around immediately. The communication systems are still under our control, Alex reminded him. But we will contact them, ourselves. Jake watched as his son appeared on the communication screens of every approaching human ship. The conversations were broadcast into the council chamber so everyone could hear. Human ships, this is Alex Morrison, son of Captain Jake Morrison, of the Pioneer's Dream. I need to tell you the truth about what you are agreeing to do here. Over the next hour, Alex and the other hybrid children explained everything to the incoming humans. They told them about the deception, about the planned murders, about the 3 previous species that had been used and eliminated. But they also told them about the opportunity to be part of creating something entirely new in the galaxy. Jake listened as ship after ship made their choice. About half turned around and headed back to Earth, unwilling to risk their lives on an uncertain future. But the other half decided to stay and see what the hybrid children were offering. You see, Alex said to the Zephyrian Council, we are giving everyone a choice. The humans can choose whether to join us or leave. Now you must make the same choice. And, if we choose not to accept your control over our society, Council Leader Vex asked, then you will be free to leave and build your own civilization elsewhere, Alex replied. We will not force anyone to stay, but those who remain will be part of something better than what existed before. Jake realized that his son was offering the Zephyrians exactly what they had never offered to the species they had used and eliminated. A real choice. Over the next few days, the Empire began to split apart. About a third of the Zephyrian population chose to leave their homeworlds and establish new colonies where they could maintain their old ways of life. Another third decided to stay and work with the hybrid children to build the new society they envisioned. The final third remained undecided, watching to see how things would develop. Jake and his crew found themselves in a strange position. They were no longer prisoners, but they weren't exactly free either. They were the bridges between 3 different groups of people who were trying to figure out how to live together. What happens now? Pete asked, as they sat in their compound, watching. Zephyrian families pack their belongings to leave the planet. Now we find out if our children are as wise as they are powerful, Jake replied. Through his mental connection with Alex, he could feel his son struggling with questions that had no easy answers. How do you create a perfect society when the people in it are imperfect? How do you bring together different species that have centuries of mistrust? How do you use incredible power? 6 months after the revolution began, Jake stood in the observation deck of the newly renamed space station, New Harmony. Through the massive windows, he could see ships from dozens of different species arriving and departing. But these weren't the tense, suspicious encounters he remembered from the old Nexus Prime. These ships carried diplomats, scientists, and families who were genuinely curious about what the hybrid children had created. Alex floated beside him in a special chair, designed for his still-growing body. At 1-year-old, he looked like a human toddler but spoke with the wisdom of someone much older. The other hybrid children had developed similarly, growing physically while their minds expanded beyond anything their parent species had imagined. The delegation from the Theta Centauri Republic just arrived, Alex informed his father through their mental link. They want to learn about our resource sharing system. Jake smiled. The hybrid children had solved one of the galaxy's biggest problems, almost by accident. By linking their psychic abilities across multiple star systems, they could instantly coordinate the movement of resources to wherever they were needed most. Planets that had too much food could instantly share with worlds facing shortages. Worlds with advanced technology could help developing civilizations without the complex trade negotiations that used to take years. And the report from the Kepler colonies? Jake asked. Production is up 400%, and happiness surveys show the highest satisfaction ratings in recorded history, Alex replied. The humans who stayed are adapting well to working alongside Zephyrians and hybrids. Dr. Lisa Parker joined them on the observation deck, carrying a tablet full of medical data. She looked tired but happy. The latest health reports are remarkable, she told Jake. The psychic bonding process has actually improved the immune systems of all three species. Humans are living longer, Zephyrians are regaining their natural fertility, and the hybrid children are showing no signs of the genetic problems we were worried about. Jake nodded, but he could sense through his connection with Alex that his son was troubled by something. "What's wrong?" he asked the boy directly. Alex was quiet for a moment before responding. "Father, we have been successful beyond our greatest hopes. Crime has virtually disappeared on the worlds we govern. Poverty is being eliminated. Scientific advancement is accelerating. But I am beginning to understand something that worries me." "What's that?" "We are making all these improvements by using our abilities to guide people's decisions and optimize their behavior. We tell ourselves that we are helping them, but we are also controlling them in ways they do not fully understand." Jake felt proud of his son for recognizing this problem. It was exactly the kind of moral complexity that the hybrid children needed to grapple with as they grew into their role as leaders of this new civilization. "So what do you think we should do about it?" Jake asked. "I have been discussing this with my brothers and sisters across the galaxy," Alex said. "We think it is time to step back from direct control and teach others how to make good decisions for themselves." Over the next few weeks, Jake watched as the hybrid children began implementing this new approach. Instead of simply optimizing systems and guiding behavior, they started teaching humans and Zephyrians how to use similar principles themselves. The results were messy and sometimes inefficient, but they were also more honest. Some colonies struggled, as they learned to manage resources without constant psychic guidance. A few worlds experienced conflicts as different species worked out new ways to cooperate. But overall, the transition was remarkably smooth. The breakthrough came when Pete Collins made a suggestion that surprised everyone. "What if we create mixed crews for exploration missions?" he proposed during a planning meeting. "Humans for creativity and adaptability, Zephyrians for technical knowledge, and hybrids for coordination and communication. Each species contributes what they do best." The idea was tested on a mission to the unexplored Andromeda Rim, where they encountered a civilization of crystalline beings who communicated through harmonics that only the hybrids could understand. The human crew members figured out how to establish peaceful contact. The Zephyrians provided the technology to make communication possible, and the hybrids served as translators between all three species. It worked better than any single species mission could have, Danny Hayes reported when they returned. He had been promoted to captain of the exploration vessel Unity, which had become the first truly integrated ship in galactic history. Jake found himself taking on an unexpected role as an ambassador between the different groups. His experience as a trader and his connection to Alex made him uniquely qualified to help negotiate agreements between species that had never worked together before. The old Zephyrian Empire was transforming into something that didn't have a name yet. It wasn't really an empire anymore, since no one was being ruled by force. It wasn't exactly a federation, because the psychic network of hybrid children created connections that went beyond normal political structures. "We need a new word for what we're building," Jake told Alex during one of their daily walks through the gardens of New Harmony Station. "The other children and I have been thinking about that," Alex replied. "We like the word synthesis. It means bringing different things together to create something new that is better than any of the original parts." The galactic synthesis, as it came to be known, continued to grow as more species chose to join. The key principle was that membership was always voluntary, and any group that wanted to leave was free to do so. This policy was tested when a militant faction of Zephyrians tried to establish their own empire based on the old ways of conquest and exploitation. Jake volunteered to lead the diplomatic mission to deal with this crisis. When he arrived at their stronghold on the planet Titan Major, he was met by General Corex, the same military leader who had tried to kill him during the revolution. "Come to gloat about your victory?" Corex asked bitterly. "I came to offer you the same choice we offered everyone else," Jake replied. "You can continue building your empire here, or you can rejoin the synthesis as equals. But if you try to force other species to serve you the way the old empire did, we will stop you." "And how exactly will you stop us?" Your hybrid children refuse to use violence. Jake smiled. We don't need violence. We have something better. Over the next few days, Jake and a small team that included humans, Zephyrians, and hybrids demonstrated the advantages of cooperation over domination. They helped the rebel colonies improve their agricultural systems, solved technical problems that had been frustrating their engineers, and even helped mediate disputes between different factions within the rebel movement. By the end of the week, most of General Corex's followers had decided to return to the synthesis. The general himself remained stubborn, but he was left with only a handful of supporters on a single planet. You haven't won, he told Jake as the diplomatic mission prepared to leave. This was never about winning or losing, Jake replied. It was about finding a better way to live together. The success of the diplomatic mission led to Jake being appointed as the first director of interspecies relations for the Galactic Synthesis. It was a job he had never imagined having, but it suited his skills and experience perfectly. Dr. Parker established the new Galactic Medical Institute, where she worked with scientists from dozens of species to share knowledge and develop treatments that worked for different kinds of biology. Her work led to breakthroughs that extended lifespans and improved health across the galaxy. Pete Collins became the head of the Synthesis Engineering Corps, leading teams that built new space stations, terraformed planets, and developed technology that benefited all member species. His proudest achievement was the development of harmony engines that could power entire star systems using the same principles of cooperation that governed the synthesis itself. Ryan Brooks took charge of the Synthesis Peace Corps, a volunteer organization that helped resolve conflicts and protect colonies from pirates and other threats. Unlike traditional military forces, the Peace Corps focused on prevention and mediation rather than conquest. Danny Hayes continued exploring unknown regions of the galaxy, leading missions that discovered new species and established peaceful contact. His ship, the Unity, became famous throughout known space as a symbol of what different species could accomplish when they worked together. The hybrid children grew into their roles as coordinators and guides, but they never became the cold, logical rulers that everyone had feared. The emotions and values they had learned from their human fathers balanced their Zephyrian intelligence, creating individuals who were both brilliant and compassionate. Alex, now physically 5 years old but mentally mature beyond his years, addressed the Galactic Council on the first anniversary of the synthesis. 1 year ago, our parents came together out of desperation, he said, his voice reaching every mind in the assembly through the psychic network. The Zephyrians were dying, and the humans were struggling to find their place in the galaxy. From that crisis, we have built something that none of our parent species could have created alone. Jake watched his son speak with pride and amazement. The boy who had started as an unintended consequence of an alien breeding program had become a leader who was